Today, we are digging into the pretty incredible story of Italgas. Now, this is a traditional energy company, we're talking over 100 years of history, that somehow managed to completely reinvent itself for the age of AI. It's really a masterclass in deep organizational change, and it brings up a fascinating question. And yeah, this is the central question for this whole explainer. Is it really possible for a legacy giant, a company that's been around forever, to do more than just, buy some new software? Can it fundamentally change its own DNA to become truly AI native? Well, Italgas decided to find out. So what was the big goal here? Well, it wasn't just about cutting costs or being a little more efficient. No, Italgas set its sights way higher. They wanted to transform from a regular old energy company into an AI-driven intelligent infrastructure platform. That meant rebuilding everything around intelligent networks, predictive maintenance, and a totally restructured ecosystem. To pull something like that off, they knew they couldn't just bolt on a new department and call it a day. They had to build a brand new engine right inside the company, designed from the ground up to create and scale intelligence across the entire organization. So, how'd they structure this new engine? The core logic was actually beautifully simple. First, they created what they called an AI factory to invent and test new solutions. Then, once a solution was proven to work, it got passed to an AI platform to be standardized and rolled out company-wide. You can really think of it as a pipeline for innovation, taking an idea all the way to real-world impact. Let's break down how those two parts work together. On one side, you've got the AI factory. Think of it like a creative lab, where agile teams are just rapidly building new AI products. But then on the other side, you have AI governance. That's the scaling engine. This group's job is to make sure every single innovation is secure, ethical, and standardized before it gets rolled out. It's this perfect balance, right? One engine for speed and another one for stability. But, the technology and the fancy org charts, that was only half the battle. The most radical change, the real turning point in this whole transformation, came from a place you might not expect at all, the Human Resources Department. And this image just illustrates that shift perfectly. HR went from being this traditional support function, kind of at the bottom of the staircase, to becoming the strategic center, the engine driving the entire AI transformation. They had this huge realization. AI isn't just an IT project, it's a human and organizational one, first and foremost. And to make this shift official, in 2024, Italgas did something pretty remarkable. They completely eliminated the role of Chief Human Resources Officer, the CHRO, and they created a brand new C-suite position, the CPITO, or Chief People, Innovation, and Transformation Officer. And the difference between these two roles is just profound. The old CHRO, their job was to manage human capital. Filling jobs, running payroll, the usual stuff. The new CPITO, their job is to design organizational intelligence. This person is now responsible for the company's entire learning system, its innovation ecosystem, and all of its digital capabilities. It's a fundamental shift from just managing people to literally architecting an intelligent organization. So, with this new kind of leadership in place, Italgas could finally begin the real work, a complete overhaul of its talent, its skills, and the very culture that had defined the company for 100 years. They went through this really interesting three-stage evolution in how they even thought about their employees. They started with a very rigid, traditional, job-based system. From there, they moved to a more modern capabilities model. But the final leap, the big one, was to an intelligence-based system, where the number one focus is on how humans and AI can collaborate in the most effective way. So what does that actually mean in practice? It means they started hiring and training for a completely new set of skills. Italgas now focuses on these 5 core competencies: AI adaptability, cross-domain agility, data literacy, creative problem-solving, and, maybe most importantly, ethical judgment. And these aren't just corporate buzzwords. They see them as the actual building blocks of a modern workforce. Now, along with new skills, you have to have a new culture. The old way of doing things prized perfect, repeatable execution. The new way, which this image shows so well, prioritizes learning speed and continuous innovation above absolutely everything else. Italgas realized that in the age of AI, the ability to learn and adapt is way more valuable than static perfection. And they didn't just talk about it. They made this culture real with actual programs. For instance, they launched AI Fridays, where every single employee got to experiment with new AI models. They created cross-team challenges to break down those old silos. And they started a digital citizenship program to make sure everyone understood the ethical responsibility that comes with using these powerful new tools. Okay, so after all this work, restructuring the whole organization, redefining leadership, rebooting the culture, what was the actual result? I mean, did it work? Well, this is where the story gets really compelling. This radar chart pretty much says it all. The dotted line you see is the company before the transformation. The solid line is after. Just look at the dramatic expansion across every single dimension: efficiency, culture, innovation, resilience, everything. It's like a visual representation of an organization truly waking up. And if that visual wasn't enough, here are the hard numbers behind it. Operational costs dropped by 18%. Decision-making time was cut by 40%. They saw a threefold increase in activity on their learning platforms, and this one might be the most impressive. 82% of all employees are now actively participating in innovation projects. These aren't small tweaks. These are fundamental business improvements across the board. And this brings us to the really profound conclusion from the white paper that studied this whole case. The big takeaway from Italgas is that an AI transformation, it isn't just a technical revolution. It is, and I'm quoting here, a reboot of organizational civilization. I mean, wow, it's that fundamental. And so that leaves us with one last question to really think about. As AI continues to reshape pretty much everything, it's worth asking, is your organization just adopting new tools, or is it truly preparing for its own awakening? The Italgas story really shows us what's possible when a company dares to choose that second path.